Live from New York, it's Saturday night. No, wait, no, it's not. It's Thursday, and this is live from Movie Deputy Review. So I'm recording this live, at least. When you're listening to it, it's not going to be live, unfortunately, because if I posted these at the same time that I record them, nobody would watch them because very few people are awake at that time in the morning. So, welcome back. And I'm guessing you can figure out what movie we are talking about today. We are talking about Saturday Night. It is the documentary slash mockumentary slash movie about the very first Saturday Night Live episode. It's not really done in a documentary format, but it's kind of plays out as if you were like watching them follow actually the people along on this whole thing like a documentary would be done. And again, like I said, it's not a documentary, so it's hence like the mockumentary type thing on that. Obviously, I'm giving this a guilty rating. If you know anything about Saturday Night Live, you will understand why. I think it's very important to mention that if you are a fan of Saturday Night Live, you will probably get a lot out of this movie. If you are not a big fan of Saturday Night Live, there's not much here for you in terms of the content of the movie itself. What we have here is, it shows us really what was going on with SNL, because it just approaches it in a weird way. Something like Saturday Night had never been done. An hour-long variety show that was done live. There was still scripts and things like that to follow. But when they were trying to get this outlined, they had 3 hours of material to try to squeeze down into an hour's worth of stuff. And so you're watching the director going around panic, trying to figure out what he's going to do, what he's going to cut, what he's going to keep, how he's going to do this. He's got the network heads down his throat going, you know, we're not sure if we're going to allow this yet or not, and you need to run everything by us. And then he's having to deal with just the temperamental people of who he was working with. Some are high, some are drunk, some are just mental. I mean, there's no other way to really put it. They're just, like I said, if you're a fan of Saturday Night Live, you probably have an idea who I'm talking about on some of these references. And because of the format that it's done in, like I said, it's not going to be for everybody. Something like this is, like I said, if you're a fan of Saturday Night Live, you are going to appreciate this and you're going to laugh. If you are not, you are probably going to get up and walk out if you see this in the theaters. I've witnessed both reactions to this movie, and people are very passionate in both directions going, I've heard people say this never should have been made, and I've heard people say this is a cinematic masterpiece. So it's really polarizing. Score-wise, I ended up with this at a 5.25 out of 10 on the deputy scale. There's just too much that could easily be picked apart on this. Even if you are a fan, you can still find parts of this that were just like, okay, what was the point of inserting that if it really didn't have anything to add to the story itself? There's just some nonsensical stuff that doesn't even necessarily make sense with the SNL type genre of what it's doing. And there's other stuff that fits perfectly that you're just looking at this thing going, what or why? This movie literally makes you ask the how, when, why, and where. It's just, there is just so much here to break apart and break down. But it's representing the big cast members and stuff of the day. It's not like actually them, but you've got people representing Belushi and Radner and like all the Chevy Chase and all these really big names from back in the day. And the characters that are portraying them are doing a surprisingly good job of doing so. And then you've got just the arrogance and you've got the humor and you've just got, it's everything that is wrong and right about this movie at the same time. Now, that may not make a whole lot of sense, but like I said, for as much as this movie is messed up, for every person that hates it, there's going to be somebody that loves it. And it's, like I said, it's going to be very, very polarizing. I've sat at a table of people and I've literally had like two people on one side, two people on the other side. And they're sitting like right by each other. When I'm saying other side, I'm talking about their opinions on this movie. And they'll just sit there and debate and argue over what's good and what's not in a story like this. And that, at least a story like this, is so engaging. SNL is now 50 years old. I know that's really hard to believe. This went live. Let's see, let me look back at the date here. I've got it in my notes. The date was October 11th of 1975 when SNL went live. And that was its very, very first episode. And it went against everything that had been known by network TV at that point. Basically, everything you knew about network TV, you had to unknow it to make this work. And how they managed to do so, I think, was just a sign of the times. There is no way, if something like this started today, that would ever be greenlit. I mean, there's too many people that would be quote unquote triggered or offended or all of these other different things. There'd be just too much of it that would be polarizing if something like this was started today. But being the fact that this was 1975, that you could, a lot more people were a lot more tolerant of stuff back then, even if they didn't agree with it. And there is, I mean, the sex, drugs, alcohol, just, if you can imagine it, it's going on while they are preparing to air the episode. And so, like, when I started this episode live from New York, it's Saturday night. Well, number one, I would never live in New York, but that's just a line that we have all become so familiar with this type of a story. And so the whole live from New York, everybody knows what that is. Even if you're not a fan of the show, you know what that is. And it's just iconic in both the wrong and the right reasons. So, if you're a fan of Saturday Night Live, check this out. If not, you're not missing much. So I just want to invite people to do what comes natural to them when it comes to a story such as this. And I hope you always click the button so you always get the latest and greatest Movie Deputy content. And as always, if you want to get the content before anybody else, be sure and head over to the Movie Deputy YouTube channel and hit like and subscribe so you always get the latest and greatest. So as always, I will be back soon. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.